Erik, in the case of Kiros in Colorado, she was fired from her job at her law firm. So she graduated from Notre Dame in, I think, 2022, joined a law firm. She published a blog in support of anti-Israel protesters who were being slammed for being anti-Semitic, and she was fired for it. She went back home to Colorado, decided to run for office, made this a staple of her campaign. It's not New York City, but obviously probably a very progressive, I guess, base there in her district. Can you talk a little bit about like what Anel had suggested that maybe we shouldn't extrapolate too much, or do you find in that poll that Anel had identified, only a third of people actually see foreign policy or this Israel issue as a major campaign motivator, or a motivator for their vote rather. But what do you think in terms of like this very moment? Do you think that there is a through line or a trend line here that we should be paying attention to?
Oh yeah, well I think everyone's paying attention to it. I was just watching Benjamin Netanyahu, on Fox News, and he was not looking very comfortable. I think everyone on all sides of this issue knows there's a trend line that is not going to be reversed anytime soon. Even young Jews, I consider myself part of that group, and there's I think it's past the era that people of our generation or younger are thinking about essentially the thing that our elders thought of, which is the Holocaust and the persecution. And so I think there's really no reversing the trend. It definitely will depend on by district how much of a motivating factor it is. Obviously, in some of these districts, it can be enough to swing the election. But I think in others, I think there's really going to be very few districts going forward where highlighting support for Israel is going to be a major winner. I think so I think we're going to start to see what has been noted by a lot of people online and in analyzing the ads that, say, AIPAC is putting out, is they're not running ads talking about the record on Israel because they know that's not a popular issue. And so I think we are in an interesting dynamic where, and definitely in some districts, people are going to be able to run against Israel and going to be able to unseat people and kind of use Israel, either run on the genocide itself or use it as kind of a proxy for a candidate who's controlled by the establishment or special interests. But then in other ones, I think we're going to see Israel, people running from Israel, or people trying to kind of keep their Israel support kind of quiet. And because I think, obviously have MAGA folks, I think there are many, as Anel noted, many young Republicans who find it to be, at odds with the America First concept. But I think even to average Americans who think, okay, Israel seems fine, but why is there so much focus on it? We have so many needs here. So I think for just going forward, I feel like for any voter, at the bare minimum, it's always going to feel a little strange why there's such an emphasis on Israel, with the exception of perhaps the most, committed, obviously, pro-Israel voters in the Jewish community, but also the evangelical community. But outside of those two communities, I think for the vast majority of voters, it's going to be seen as a pretty strange thing to be so focused on this foreign country in the Middle East.